everybody, and welcome to Washington, D.C. in the RFK Memorial Street Circuit for the 6th round of the Speed World Challenge Speed GT Championship. I'm Greg Kramer, joined by Derek Daly and Jan Bikas down in pit lane. This is a brand new facility. As a matter of fact, only 6 weeks ago, the pavement was sealed. So we thought we'd ask our most experienced driver and our resident Brit, Derek Bell, what he thinks of racing in the capital of a lost colony.
For me, it's amazing because obviously I've never been to Washington, D.C. apart from the airport, and I get lost in which one I'm in. But to come here and to actually be in D.C. and drive past the Capitol and all those fantastic buildings is amazing. I mean, to be here, and here we are. It seems like we're within 100 yards of the Capitol building and the White House is just up the road. You couldn't do that in London. I mean, there's no way you could do that. I think it's fantastic to come here. I think it changes people's opinion of a city when they put on a motor race or a major sports event. I mean, they're all used to football or soccer or rugby or whatever. But to actually put a motorsports event on or something that's unusual to be in a city, when somebody has the guts to go and do it in a major city like Washington, I think it gives the whole of the world a different impression of that city. Makes it think of it as a much more worldly place.
And Derek Daly, let's take a look at this brand new facility.
It's very unusual, it's very smooth. It's really a succession of drag strips between very low speed corners. And I have to say, I would imagine that the Audi four-wheel drive should have an advantage here, but it doesn't seem to be that way as you see the way the grid unfolds.
Well, and we thought we'd take an opportunity to check with some other drivers about what they thought of the RFK Memorial Circuit.
The facility is absolutely top-notch. They've done everything right as far as the construction of the circuit.
The track surface is really nice. Actually, after the first practice, a couple of fellows walked over, and my sponsor for my car was the ones that put this track down, which was kind of neat. I didn't know that until they came by.
It's a neat layout. It's fun. It's going to be challenging.
The track is a real smooth course. It's a real tight course, so it'll be real busy, lots of shifting, lots of turns. So it'll be real interesting out on the course at race speed.
I think it's going to be a fun track. We all just have to learn where we're going.
It's a great little track. It is a little track. Turns are tight.
Well, that was our pole sitter, Randy Pobst. And remember the last time he was on pole, he won at Lime Rock. He's joined in the front row by Johannes van Overbeck. Our second row, Jeff McMillan, working his way forward in the points with that consistent style, and Phil McClure. Row number 3, Michael Galati, as Derek alluded to, struggling a little bit in the all-wheel drive cars, and Bob Miller in the Porsche. Row 4, Peter Cunningham, his 100th World Challenge start, joined by Derek Bell. Row 5, John Young and that super powerful Celine Mustang, and Boris Said in another very powerful Mustang. And in row 6, it's Gennady Soiker and Greg Merrill, both driving Porsches. Row 7, Brad Flowers and Michael Levitas, again, both in Porsches. We look now at row 8, Craig Jelston and Guy Pavigo, both in Chevys. And in our 9th row, it's Tom Pank in the Porsche. Let's check in with Jan Bikas.
Well, Greg, with his second Woody's Ice pole of this season, Randy Pobst not only got on the pole, but you absolutely smashed the competition with a lap over a second. That's unheard of in this series. Where'd all that speed come from?
Well, it's a team effort. 3R Racing built me a really fine car. I'm not doing anything special in terms of my driving, but my early history of autocrossing is coming back to help me in these tight hairpins. The National Grand Prix course is fabulous. I enjoy it. We've got an extremely fast sweeper on the front, and then some really tight hairpins that favor the Porsche, frankly, with the rear weight. On the brakes in, the rear weight is good. On the power off, the rear weight is good. We're going to try and use those advantages here and make these Toyos last for almost an hour.
Well, it's going to be long and it's going to be hot. Take a look at the front of his Porsche and look at the ducting to the radiator. Then we can swing over and compare the other Porsche on the front row, which is a newer model. And you can see in these hot conditions, over 120 degrees of track temperature, there's more air going in and it's vented on the top. Maybe that is going to be an advantage for Mr. Van Overbeck. And my question to you is, you've got a newer car, some great cooling on a very hot day. Is that an advantage?
Well, we hope so. I think if we can run Randy into the ground, we'll be in good shape. Otherwise, I think he's fast enough we'll be racing for second. But if our car holds up, I think we have a good shot.
Well, maybe the key is, in fact, can you run him into the ground? It's hot, push him, see if possibly his brakes will go away.
That's a great strategy, but I think Randy brought up a very good point. The weight of the engine in the Porsche is right over those rear wheels, and that helps launching out of tight corners. We'll be back to find out.
The Speed World Challenge is brought to you by Audi. In technology, performance, and design, our goal remains constant. Never follow. Toyo Tires, known for performance. Tires that fit you. And by the all-new Toyota Matrix. Get the feeling.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Washington, D.C. You see Derek Bell there, and we wanted to let you know we're having some helicopter problems, and we're having problems with getting this camera signal from the onboard. We are going to be monitoring his radio, though, so at least we'll be able to get some communication from Derek. And you see he's joined there by Petey Cunningham, and this is a brand new circuit to everybody, so knowledge of this circuit is the same across the board, but I would still think that experience in racing in different environments would play a big role and maybe be some advantage. Derek, let's take a look at our RB storylines. First, just the quickness of Randy Pobst.
How can he be 1.1 seconds quicker than the whole field? He must just be brilliant. Weight adjustments, Greg. Weight up and weight down for some drivers.
Yeah, Audi and Porsche, they gave him an additional 50 pounds to help equalize things. Now, that's not rewards weight. That's off their base weight. And BMW actually lost 50 pounds.
Did they give Pobst the weight or take it off him?
I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see.
You need to give Pobst an anchor if you're going to try and catch him. And, of course, the third one was the braking concerns. Because these hairpins, and they are hairpins, are so tight, you really have to stand these cars on their noses very, very severely at the end of these drag strip type straights.
And unlike the touring cars, remember these cars are quite a bit heavier, yet they still have a lot more top end speed potential, so you're slowing down a lot more weight from a lot higher speed into these turns. All right. Lights are on, revs are up, and round 6 is about to unleash, and Pobst just got a little bit better jump on that than did Van Overbeek, and Van Overbeek concerned about Pobst getting the lead early. Here comes McMillan. McMillan, a great launch. He gets underneath. Van Overbeek just gives Pobst a tap. Now he's trying, looks like he almost tried to push Randy Wall. Oh, Bob Miller, right in the middle of the track. The Rogaine Porsche has gone around.
Wow. I don't see if there's a lot of damage. It looked like a simple nudge, and he spins around.
My engine isn't going, boys. It's cutting out. Fucking thing's cutting out.
That's Derek Bell. He was talking to his crew. We just eavesdropped in that he's got a problem and it's cutting out. And we've had a swap of positions, Derek, as Van Overbeek has gone back around McMillan. McMillan trying to stay with him, but the next corner's a right-hander, and Van Overbeek has the inside.
Oh, he did. It began to squeeze McMillan toward that concrete wall. Jeff McMillan in that just wonderfully presented red BMW. I don't think he wanted to begin to swap paint or concrete with Johannes Van Overbeek.
And Michael Galati has moved up a spot. He is now 4th. There's Young in 5th. The question is, where's Phil McClure? Boy, he dropped off the map here at the start. He had qualified, remember, in the 4th spot, but I'm not sure. I think he's in about 8th right now.
Look at Galati, 4th place, not even a challenge to Jeff McMillan here in these early laps. And that 4-wheel drive should be, we thought it might be, have an advantage here, but it doesn't seem to so far. Uh-oh.
That's David Farmer, and he's got, oh, look at that. He's got that left rear is absolutely locked up, apparently, and that's where the smoke's coming from. Don't know exactly what happened, but he's got some severe damage, and he's running on just the one right rear wheel right now. I don't know. No.
Is it locked, that left rear?
Well, he was leaving that
sure
huge
looked
black
like
streak.
It was, yeah.
And I wonder with Galati is the fact that that engine's very powerful. It's got all 4 wheels digging and everything, but with the turbo in this day and age, is there still a little bit of lag that might be hurting him coming off the turns?
I don't think they're so electronically controlled. They shouldn't be, but look at Derek Bell, gets a bit sideways, trying to hold off Phil McClure and still chase down Peter Cunningham.
Well, it may simply be a matter of the Audis are, with the 4-wheel drive, carry more weight than anybody else, and on that launch out of the turns, that may be what's hurting him. We're going to go back now, Derek, and see if we can figure out what happened with Bob Miller at the start of the race. Riding with Phil McClure.
Where's Miller on the outside? Oh, same thing we saw in the touring car so many times. Another view here. There's McClure inside. Oh yeah, McClure just drop kicks him. Yeah.
Now riding on board with Bob Miller, and there goes Bell, and then boom, there it goes. Around he goes, and the rest of the field streams by.
Oh yeah.
And McClure now, he's got some damage left front corner. That would probably be from that contact with Miller. Nonetheless, he gets underneath Derek Bell, and if Derek is dealing with a big miss in that motor, obviously that's going to kill him along the straights. Well, look at the spoiler vibrating, and when it drops all the way down like that, that can actually hurt your front downforce.
Yeah, and when it begins to waver like that, chances are it might break. But look at Peter Cunningham. He also got hit from behind on that left rear. Is he still going?
I think he's just trying to get back to the pits. I mean, he's fighting. Now he's dragging. See, there it is. That's broken suspension is what that is. That whole thing's folded up, so he's got some pretty good posse working with that right rear to be able to drive him all the way around the track. So Farmer's in trouble, but up front, Randy Pobst already looks very strong here in the nation's capital.
Prior to the start of his record 100th World Challenge event, Peter Cunningham talked about his past, present, and future in the series.
It's a milestone. It's you know, it shows that I'm, you know, been around a while and seen the championship grow throughout the years. When we got hooked up with Acura, the Acura division in 1996, we had a 3-car hauler, and we ran our 2 Preludes with the NSX, and then in '97 we got our big rig, and you know, it's just grown, and now we have more full-time employees than ever, and you know, it's kind of scary because this really is the real deal, and you know, everything has to work just so for it to all work out. Real Time is, you know, is a professional race team that's going to continue in this series until there's another series that presents itself that is, you know, a new challenge for us. We've got some bigger, better things in store, I think, for 2003. So we know that it's a moving target, and we'll come back in 2003 and try to do this whole thing all over again. The sprint racing is definitely a lot of fun, and World Challenge racing is a blast. I mean, there's so many different cars, so competitive, and you know, to have seen this series grow throughout the years, it's pretty neat to still be involved, you know, 10, 12 years later.
Welcome back, and there is David Farmer, who Jan Beekes has quite literally dragged that car to you in the pit lane.
David Farmer finally gets the car back on pit road, but you can certainly see from the damage that it's going to necessitate a left rear tire and wheel change, but it's also going to be difficult to get the jack underneath because it's laying on the bottom of the chassis. So this will be a long time on pit road for our winner from Mossport, but 7th in the championship. It's a case really where he just wants to try and get out and collect a few points.
And in fact, you can see the damage to that wheel so bad they couldn't even get the air gun onto one of the lug nuts, so this could be very long indeed. And Derek, I wanted to go back to the P.D. Cunningham story. I think that one, the professionalism of his organization, and 2, his pace, his outright speed on the track is one of the reasons this series has been really elevated to the stature it is today.
Real-time racing is the Penske of this series. They even look the same color as the Penske cars. The only thing they don't have is the Marlboro decals or the Marlboro checkbook.
That's true. They do an awful lot sometimes with not as much, and he's got some damage there. He's been doing a little rubbing out there as well. Boris said he had a little coming together at the start of the race, but it doesn't look like it's really affecting things too much, and Petey is able to soldier on. Oh,
Yikes,
Michael Lottie!
yikes.
Oh, and he locks it up and he goes around. Boy, how often do you see that?
And he was all arms and elbows in the braking zone all over the place with tank slappers. Remember now, they added 50 pounds to this car before the start of this race. I don't know whether that slowed it down or affected the handling, but you see PD now slides inside of the young Celine. That Celine just looks mean, doesn't it? It just looks fast.
It really does. Even parked, it looks like it's quick. There's no question. P.D. Cunningham goes around, and he brings Phil McClure right up behind now John Young as these guys battle here back in the pack. See the damage on McClure's front spoiler there getting worse. It looks like it's starting to separate on that right front corner just a little bit further than it had, so keeping an eye on that certainly. But these guys a little bit further back than, I I'm sure Petey Cunningham or any of them would like to be racing, but nonetheless, they're in a fairly serious brawl right now.
Yeah, beginning to wear away. Mind you, it's quite a big spoiler as you can look down on top of it. Quite a big spoiler, gives a lot of downforce, beginning to wear itself away. And you do need good turn-in on a track like this. But look, this is Michael Galati. He's in the brake zone, gets a sideways one way, gets collected, and knows he's going around. And he sits there and loses 1, 2, 3 positions right there.
Almost looked like he just left the braking a little late. The car was starting to rotate by the time he even got on the brakes. And by the way, with this Acura of Cunningham, as we take a look at Randy Pobst and Van Overbeek, and they're already drawing away, this is exactly the worst type of track for Petey Cunningham.
We've got a lot of problems this year, poor old Phil. Running so well this weekend too.
There's Derek Bell, as he noted the problem as he saw, of course, McClure in front of him pull out the track. And you can tell Derek has a lot of respect for a number of the drivers in this series here. So McClure looks to be done for the day. What I wanted to say with Cunningham is his car works at its best on a Mossport, a Lime Rock, a momentum track where you can keep the speed alive, and it's not great on the point and squirt type of track here. But boy, these Porsches are absolutely doing the job here, and they just launch off these corners.
And Randy Pobst, of course, has so much experience in these type of cars. And remember, the first Interstate In sponsored car, the 3R Racing, they didn't do this full championship. They came into it late, so for him to do this well, this quickly, is really quite impressive as you now watch Jeff McMillan.
And Jeff McMillan, remember, when he won his championship a few years back, he did it without a win, but he was always knocking on the door, if not in the top 5. Well, guess what? He does not have one finish out of the top 4 so far this year, and he's worked his way up to 3rd in the points. Peter Cunningham is behind him right now, and he's only a couple points, a few points behind Petey coming in. Mike Galati is struggling a little bit as well, so another situation where McMillan might be able to score some points, but he's got to be frustrated to watch Pobst just easing away.
Interesting, Greg. Brand new track, nobody's been here before, and the tables are a bit turned upside down this weekend.
Well, you've got the obvious fact that the Porsche is well suited to the track and the skills of Randy Pobst, and right now that's the tale here in our nation's capital. We are back at RFK Stadium Street Circuit, and there's Michael Galati being chased by Tim Weens, and Tim is a teammate to leader Randy Pobst, and with the problem that Galati had and has dropped back a little bit, I think Tim finds an opportunity here to have a little fun and hound the points leader.
I bet he's enjoying chasing this Audi. Whenever you get behind a racing car that normally is so far up the road you never see it, you begin to look at the lines he takes, you begin to look at the set the car takes into corners. So this is a good opportunity for Tim Weens to think that he's flying right now, because he's as fast as Michael Galati.
As we mentioned earlier, we have a problem getting the camera signal from Derek Bell's car, but let's check in with him.
Well, speed viewers, there you are. All broken up a bit. Michael Galati spun off or got touched off. Phil McClure had a stop there with something wrong. I'm battling away here rather lonely. The cars aren't running this week very well. It's so incredibly heavy, this car now, with the rules. And of course we have the problem. We've been had boost taken away as well. So it's pretty hard on us trying to keep this little beauty going well. Back to you in the booth.
All right, thanks very much, Derek. And obviously he sort of read off the litany of problems that may be distracting from this car's performance.
Well, I mean, what he's talking about is the ever-changing quest for parity. They keep trying to change the rules to try and keep these cars even. The difficulty is this car will be dominant on a medium to high-speed circuit somewhere. Exactly the same car against exactly the same opposition at a track like this. Suddenly, it's no longer competitive. So you really can't change the rules and be racetrack specific. So when you try and have parity, you always get situations and comments like that where nobody agrees with. When you take something away from the driver and when you give something to somebody else, nobody agrees with that either. But that's the way it is right now.
Well, this will be a little bit interesting because Michael Galati coming up on Bell. Galati, of course, the points leader, but Bell only a few points behind the top 5 in the points. And the question is, are they going to race or will Bell just move over and let Galati through? I got some smoke from Miller. Remember, he had that spin earlier, and there's some damage there on that left rear corner, and that obviously is what's causing the smoke. It's folded up onto the tire. That'll cut a tire down.
That spin earlier has got nothing to do with the tire smoke we see here. That is a concrete signature right down there on the rear fender well of that Porsche. He smacked a concrete wall somewhere, and that, I am sure, is a trip to the pit lane, because that tire, I doubt it's going to last too long.
Yeah, you can see all the white marks on the side, the chalkiness of those barriers. He's still racing it fairly hard at this stage, but not going to be able to maintain that, I don't think, coming up on the back of Mike Levitas right now. And, Levitas crossed up in that corner, lost some momentum, and even with the damage, Miller looked inside, now outside, now back inside. Levitas covers, and into this tight left-hander here. This is that chicane, the left-hander, then the quick right-hander. And now around this turn, and one more corner back onto the main straight. Looking right there.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Exiting a corner, just way too wide, and just look at the damage. Great pictures here. On board now. Listen, look. Oh, right there. This is the concrete wall. The bodywork, of course, now is in, rubbing against the tire. I don't know how long he'll last. Mind you, the tire might have rubbed the bodywork away sufficiently to keep going. No, it's still on the hard right-handers. That left side still leans down and touches the bodywork, but he still can make the pass here.
They got under and around Levitas right now, so I think you may be right. I think that it may have pushed the bodywork away just enough that it's only in those real tight right-handers that he's got a problem. And if he's on the straight line and then the casual rights, if he's not here in the grinding, he may just have to continue on here. And those two, that's another battle right in front of them, comprised of Greg Merrill being chased by Gennady Soiker, the Russian. Now that's an older Porsche RSR, so Gennady giving it a good run. And look at this, Randy Pobst is leading, but Van Overbeek has taken away a fairly significant amount of that margin and is starting to make a race of this here at the RFK Street Circuit. He's closing in. We'll be right back to more.
The Speed World Challenge is brought to you by American Plastics. Plastics makes it possible. BMW, the ultimate driving machine. And by Prudential Financial, growing and protecting your wealth.
Welcome back to a National Grand Prix weekend here in Washington, D.C. Round 6 of the Speed GT Championship. Greg Kramer with Derek Daly and Jan Beekes. And here is a look at Derek Bell, who has found himself kind of a lonely ride at this point right now, just trying to hustle this car, which on top of all of the other things, apparently a little bit of an engine miss. That's really making it stumble coming out of the corners. But the amazing thing is that Michael Galati does not seem to be able to do anything with Derek at this point, even with that damaged car. So Galati's suffering as well, apparently.
Yeah, well, or else it suggests that Derek Bell's misfire is gone. See the left front corner, left front bumper on the car. He's obviously hit something. But Derek Bell having a bit of a lonely run ahead of these Porsches here.
And there is Bob Miller with that damaged left rear corner. He sits 11th. Right in front of him is Gennady Soiker, that old RSR. And then in front of them is Greg Merrill, the green Porsche. And that is the battle essentially for 9th. Miller sits in 11th right now. And, well, that right there, just that hard right, it smokes up a little bit, and then it clears up right away.
I'm surprised he's able to run as long as he can with the damage, because certainly after he hit it, there was a lot of tire smoke, and it looked like that tire would definitely wear down and potentially cut the sidewall. But it definitely seems to have pushed that bodywork back out and left him able to chase down Soiker here.
Do you get to thinking about that when you've got some damage? You know, the crews maybe radioed you and said you got some body work on the tire?
No.
Or do you just have to put it out of your mind? And
essentially, you just hope that it stays mechanically strong enough and you just put your head down and go. Mind you, it depends how old you are. The later you are in years, the more you think about stuff like that.
Well, he didn't seem to worry about it too much there, but he ran a little wide on the exit, and a nice cutback move by Gennady as he comes right back up alongside Bob Miller. The question is he going to be able to stay there into this right-hander? He does. Miller, though, squeezes him and goes right around the outside. Gennady up, straddling the curbing, and even there could not make it stick. And Miller hangs, or does he? Boy, Gennady is still racing him very, very hard. These two guys going at it, damage or not.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a dust-up here between one of the antiques in the field and, of course, one of the later of the Porsche 911s. Of course, the Porsche 911 shape, one of those classic shapes, has changed very little from the early years that it was developed back in the 50s.
Most of the changes come underneath with some of the mechanical elements of the car. And a big step, they said, with the 993, and now an even bigger step with the 996. And that's why you see an awful lot of Porsches racing around the world today. One, there's a lot of them available, and two, they're successful.
Yes, Porsche built its reputation on winning endurance motor races. They proved how fast they were and how reliable they were. And it's a bit of a cult following initially, but the number of people that have raced 911s, the list is endless, including, of course, people like Derek Bell, who's now in the Audi.
Now that Miller has gone around Soiker and picked up the 10th spot, it'll be interesting to see if Levitas can run down Soiker and they get into a battle. Meanwhile, Randy Pobst out front and is now eased back away again from Van Overbeek. Van Overbeek was able to claw some of it back, but it may have been that Randy was, in fact, taking care of his brakes a little bit, his tires a little bit, and now has a little bit more left and is able to push away. Oh, Miller! That's Miller. He has gone around. I thought maybe the tire had finally let go, but it looks like that's not, in fact, the case. Well, but he is losing a lot of positions in a hurry here. He gets going again as the back seat. We're on board with Miller.
Right-hander, that's Merrill right ahead of him. Oh, yeah, turns in. No, didn't get nudged by anybody. Didn't hit anything. And didn't get hit by anybody as he sat sideways on the racetrack. So Bob Miller, very eventful afternoon. Now about to get lapped by the two leaders, Randy Pobst and Van Overbeek.
Good look there at Johannes Van Overbeek, who had said early in the interview with Jan Bikas that he was hoping he could stay close to Randy, push him hard, run him out of brakes and the like, and it doesn't look like that's the case right now. And I wonder if when he closed up, if maybe he didn't take too much out of his car, and Randy's got something left. Here's McMillan back in third, fairly lonely right now. Nothing he seems to be able to do with the Porsches, but one thing Jeff McMillan very aware of, if I can't race for the win, take what I can for points, and if he stays here, he's going to add another podium finish to his success this season.
Speed World Challenge is brought to you by Porsche, what only Porsche brings to driving.
We're back at the 6th round of the Speed GT Championship. A look at Derek Bell, who continues to circulate out there, and once again, we want to see if we can check in with Derek Bell. Derek?
Well, Speed Channel, thanks guys. Not very eventful out here at the moment. I'm actually going to back off a bit. Michael Gallardi's behind me. I'm sure he has some problems, and I'm going to let him go by to get maximum points that he can for us, or for himself, for the championship. What a super guy I am. But I don't mind. I'm not really standing very much in the championship. You never know, I might want to do it again next year if Speed Channel want me to. Back to you in the box.
Thanks very much. We'd sure like you to. Again, I'm sure of that, obviously. And you are a super guy, letting Michael Gallardi get through, and that's called helping your teammate.
It's called political correctness in the nation's capital. Yes, you play to team orders, as the Ferrari team taught us all to do earlier this year, right?
I think we're talking apples and oranges, though, in terms of effect, in terms of the overall view of the populace, certainly. Meanwhile, good run here by Tim Weens. He's been very successful, always in the hunt, but he's got a good ride going here right now as he continues to battle. Remember, he is a teammate to Randy Pobst, and he's up in the top 10. As a matter of fact, moving up into the 8th spot right now, and his teammate Randy Pobst out front. The third car in 3R racing is Phil McClure's Corvette. Of course, that's the downside of what's happened today. Apparently suffered overheating problems and they had to pull off before they totally destroyed an engine. Here's that battle, Merrill, Gennady, and then right behind them is Levitas.
Isn't Gennady Soiker doing a good job here? I mean, that car is pretty old. I mean, he comes to America from Russia, different culture, but I think he's done a very good job here this afternoon to be able to keep up with Merrill and get embroiled in that fight earlier on with Bob Miller.
Well, and we've talked about the fact that he's not exactly driving the most current machinery. He's stayed clean and he's stayed quick.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe a more telling thing is the fact that his qualifying time was good for 13th. So he didn't come in here at the back of the pack and has just lucked into this run. He's been quick.
Yeah, and staying clean is the key. I mean, that is the key. Between these concrete walls, you cannot make mistakes As we saw from Bob Miller earlier on, you lose so much time if you hit the concrete here.
Other than great racing this weekend, so much to see in Washington, D.C. We'll be right back. Randy Pobst loving the streets of the Capitol right now. He has got himself a lead from pole, hasn't given it up, and at one point, second place Johannes van Overbeek got fairly close, but as you can see, Randy Pobst now, that's a lap car behind him. He's got himself a fair amount of room, and he is just clocking the laps off at this stage, Derek.
He really is. I mean, he is in total control. Nothing to worry about except the potential for mechanical failure, but these Porsches seldom do they break down. As you watch the battle here for 10th, that is still beginning to rage, and there is Randy Pobst on top of the picture. So he has to be careful because these boys are embroiled in their own fight. They want that position in the top 10, and they will probably have to move over to let Randy Pobst go by, but they don't want to make it too easy and lose touch with each other.
Well, Gennady Soiker, the Webcam Inc., MODE, and Gemini Porsche right there, holds down the 10th spot. Mike Levitas, the rookie of the TPC Superchargers, Agilon Porsche, sits 11th with Pobst coming on. Now, we talked about Gennady Soiker, the rookie. He did make an occasional start a few years ago in World Challenge competition. Remember one performance of his at Road Atlanta, and now he's going to be embroiled in that battle with Levitas coming up. And then, as you pointed out, Derek, right there, this gentleman, Randy Pobst, is going to try and work his way through. Now, the one benefit Randy has, having established that lead again over Van Overbeek, is he can be a little patient, pick and choose.
Absolutely. When you look at this, Greg, look how clean and smooth this car. It's never offline. You don't see it duck and dive. You don't see it locking brakes. That is a very well sorted racing car, and I would think that it out-handles most cars. And I asked the question earlier on, how could he be more than a second clear of the whole field? On a circuit like this, it's very well sorted and handles very well and out-handles, I believe, everybody else.
And there's also, I think Randy Pobst is an instrumental part of that, not just the fact that he's a great driver, but the guy knows how to set these cars up.
Absolutely.
He has driven them so long. He drives them in the ALMS, he drives them in Grand Am, and he's even driven them in Porsche Super Cup action in support of the U.S. Grand Prix, where he's had stellar performances. And Van Overbeek, though, is closing up because Randy being very careful, not trying to get involved in this battle because, well, he just saw Levitas. He just pointed Randy by, but until Randy got close, Levitas was all over the back of Soiker, and they were banging and scraping just a little bit, and Randy was real concerned about that. Now he sneaks through, and of course, whatever Van Overbeek gained is going to be lost now, perhaps, as he tries to get through, and McMillan closing up.
Oh, you see that? Randy tried to pull into the right-hand side, and he wasn't quite sure. Look at the boys behind. What did I tell you earlier on? This is still a battle. They're embroiled for 10th place, so they didn't want to lose touch with each other, and now they start banging off each other in the middle of the leaders, trying to put a lap on them.
And Van Overbeek got a gift there because when they hit each other, and there's damage now to Soiker's right rear corner, when they hit, obviously Randy Pobst had been careful going through and actually got held up, and Van Overbeek shot between the two of them and made up a ton of ground, and he brought McMillan with him. But Soiker's great drive may be going to not here damage, and it's just the bodywork again folded up on that tire. But we don't know if he's going to be able to last too much longer, although we did see Bob Merrill able to circulate for quite some time with damage to his car. We're working our way toward the end of the race here. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. As we close in on the end of the 6th round of the Speed GT Championship here at the National Grand Prix, Washington, D.C. Good look there at the second place car of Van Overbeek and the third place BMW of Jeff McMillan. There goes Pobst. That's the margin. He's been able to streak away just a little bit once again. And then the lap car of Greg Merrill, who, of course, is down a lap right now. But there's a good battle, maybe shaping up for second here.
And they were all trying to race the train down that front straight there before they break for the hairpin. But look at this Van Overbeek. I mean, if he makes a tiny mistake here, Jeff McMillan is right behind him, is closed up to within a car length, you see, and Randy Pobst is not that far up the road. So these three, who have been virtually mistake-free, are still covered by about 2 or 3 seconds here.
And Greg Merrill, by the way, the Webcam Inc. Gemini Porsche, sits in the 9th position. There's the Redline Oil JJ Snacks BMW of McMillan, and he already has a couple of thirds to go along with all the rest of his finishes are fourth. So if he can add another third or maybe a second here, he's doing exactly what he did on his way to his championship previously.
But the most frustrated driver must be Van Overbeek.
Yeah.
How many third places has he had now in a row? At least 3? I believe it is at least that amount.
Well, he's had, actually, I said 3 straight seconds coming in here. And Galati, Bell has let Michael Galati through. And so the team orders, not really team orders, I'm sure the team didn't order it. I'm sure Derek Bell, as he said, just offered to do it to help Galati maximize points. But as I said, Van Overbeek has scored 3 consecutive second-place finishes coming in, and he'll get locked into that once again.
And so as you can tell in future how to tell these cars apart, look at Derek Bell's car behind has the yellow rear view mirrors. See them there on either side of the driver's door and passenger door, and Galati's, of course, has the red.
Taking a cue perhaps from their ALMS big brothers, the R8s, who run the different schemes on the mirrors and the wings. Up front there is Randy Pobst, and look at this, the battle definitely starting to heat up now for second, and we anticipate the white flag coming out this time by for race leader Randy Pobst. There's Van Overbeek, there's McMillan, the bending straight here, and McMillan here into the chicane. Let's see, yep, there they come. Then there's the right-hander, and then the final right-hander onto the pit straight.
You know, McMillan looks loose. I saw him exiting the last chicane there, and he just looked as if he's just a little bit loose. I'm not sure that he can stand on the power on that thing and become a realistic challenger as we go to the white flag here, to be a realistic challenger to Van Overbeek in that second place Flextronics car.
Well, that's the weight distribution perhaps, and you can see McMillan very effective into the turns and in the middle of the corners. But on the exit, again, the Porsches, that power plant right on top of those rear wheels. McMillan's got all the weight of the engine up front. The car handles quite well. But, and then so in the...
See? See? There it is. Once you get sideways like that, not only do you torture the tires and they get worse and worse and worse, but you can put yourself out of this race. And Jeff McMillan doesn't normally make mistakes like that on the last lap.
Watching.
His heart's now beating.
Oh, yeah.
With a sideways moment like that, he's saying, "Wow, I'm going to take it easy now."
Yeah, the adrenaline pump is definitely up at this stage. But I mean, he looks pretty quick in the swoopier corners, and they are few and far between here. But he's been quick there. But boy, you get out of those hairpins, and you can see him lose the ground. Now, right here into that chicane, there comes Pobst. There's Van Overbeek, and there's McMillan. Pretty tidy through there, looking okay. But it's the launch out of those real tight corners that is doing it. Meanwhile, here we go. Last turn, Randy Pobst from the pole like he did at Lime Rock. Van Overbeek's there, but it's not going to be enough. Randy Pobst takes his second win of the season. And keep in mind, he missed a number of the opening races, the first 2, and he also never made it to the start line in Road America. The crew happy, and here are the Audi gents, Michael Galati and Derek Bell. A fairly quiet race for both of them here as we come to the checker, but Derek says he'd like to talk to the viewers.
Well, viewers, I'm sorry. Not very exciting for you. I hope there was something happening up front. Pretty bad when the only guy that overtakes you is your teammate. Never mind. We had a bit of exciting stuff at the front, and I should have probably stayed there, but all weekend we knew we weren't going to get a good result here. Although we were quick yesterday morning, it was too much to expect in this heat with this amount of braking going on. Too much for our little tires, our little engine, but not too much power, and of course all the weight we have keep landing on us. Anyway, back to you in the booth.
Thanks very much, Derek, and we know there'll be better times ahead when we perhaps get to a track a little bit better suited to those cars, and we know what they're certainly capable of, and they're going to come around and pick up the checkered flag. But Randy Pobst gets his second win of the season, and it was a very impressive one. Once again, when we come back, Jan Bikas will talk to our winner as well as the rest of the podium.
The Speed World Challenge is brought to you by Toyo Tires, known for performance tires that fit you.
Randy Pobst gets to come and celebrate in Victory Circle. Gets the congratulations of the fans, and you would almost have said that one looked a bit easy.
You know what? The hard work was done by the 3R Racing team before we got here. My car was handling so well that, well, I had to save the brakes big time. I was pumping them up at the end of the race. Had to save myself a little bit. But the Porsche was the car today, I think. And it's great to get another win. It's great to be back. The 3R team did such a good job of getting it. And I think I won it in the hairpins today. My car was just so good through those hairpins, getting it turned in, power down, and everything lasted. I want to thank Will Mooney, my engineer, for doing a great job of setting this car up.
It was a great job, and it was driven very well. There's our look at our full field results of the RFK Street Circuit for the 6th round. Pobst, Van Overbeek, McMillan, accruing those points. Peter Cunningham, a lonely 4th. John Young in 5th. Galati, with the help of Derek Bell, gets a top 6. Tim Wiens, a good run up to 8th. Greg Merrill and Bob Miller. But a couple of guys to think about. How about David Farmer, Phil McClure, and Boris Said? Once again, struggling. And Boris Said, that car's so fast, and it just can't get to the finish.
I don't think anybody was going to beat Randy Pobst today. That 3R team were exceptional.
They were, but a great effort by our gentleman in second, who's with Jan.
The Flextronic Shoreline Brocade Porsche ran really well today. Unfortunately, we, in the middle of the race, we started making a run on Randy. We got close, and I just drove the brakes off the car. And the last quarter of the race, I was just trying to hang on.
Well, the brakes obviously take the beating here. Here are our driver standings now after 6 of 10 rounds. Galati, with that 6th place finish, lost a little ground, but Petey Cunningham was only a couple spots in front. McMillan, the big gainer, now up to 3rd and only 19 behind Galati. Then Van Overbeek, then John Young. And now we're going to take a look at 6th through 10th, and you can see some of the players there. There's Derek Bell. Farmer hurt, obviously, by this with dropping out. Randy Pobst, after missing 3 rounds, essentially, well up into the top 10. Tim Wiens and Phil McClure rounding out the top 10. One more time, let's get it back down to Jan Bikas in Victory Circle.
Jeff, I got to ask you first of all about that start. It was an aggressive, awesome start for you, but it seemed like Johannes just challenged right back.
Yeah, I had a good jump, and I had the inside line. I was in a good position there, and I figured I was just going to ride right behind Randy, and did, and just kind of squeezed out. Johannes had nowhere to go, but the brakes of that Porsche, I just couldn't hold off. That thing stops better than any car I've ever seen, and I tried to make it difficult for him, but he got it done anyway.
Now, you have one of the lightest cars in the series, the BMW. Was that an advantage on a hot day when everyone else is slipping and sliding?
Well, it should have been, but at the end, I beat my tires up too for some reason. Maybe I worked them a little too hard early on trying to hang with the front pack there, but they were about all used up by the end. I was actually gaining on the leaders a little bit there for a while, and then I think it was all she had, you know.
All right, enjoy your time on the podium. Congratulations.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Another great run by Jeff McMillan. Let's take a look at our rookie points. John Young, 32 clear of Tim Wiens, both of whom had pretty decent drives here. Brad Flowers, Michael Culver, and Greg Merrill had a good run today as well, coming up into the top 10 with his 9th place finish. So nice run there. We also want to now take a look at the manufacturer's points at this stage. And Audi is now 7 back of Porsche, and 13 back from the leader is Acura. Then BMW only 1 behind. So McMillan doing a nice job. One more time down to Victory Circle. Jan Bikas is with the winner of the Rogaine Hair Raising Pass Award. Jan?
And of course, it's time for the Rogaine Hair Raising Pass of the day. And convenient that it was the driver of the Rogaine car, Bob Miller. Tell us about the Hair Raising Pass.
Well, the pass that I made it on was Gennady Sikyu, car number 40. And I had a great start, got spun around, started from the back of the pack, came through, and then touched the wall, spun again, came back through, and I think passed him again. So they decided, you know, if you're going to do it twice, you might as well win it. But just amazing that the Rogaine car gets the Rogaine Hair Raising Pass of the day. So want to appreciate and thank Rogaine.
Sounds hair-raising. Congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
Proof positive that persistence pays. That was tough to say. Derek, we have now completed the debut run here at this new circuit in the shadow of RFK Stadium in the capital, and your thoughts on, 1, the facility, and 2, the racing.
It was a great event. It was an event that was put on very professionally, and I've seldom heard racing drivers talk unanimously about how great a new circuit is as I've heard from drivers this weekend. Great job, everybody, to put this track together and this event together.
They were very impressed. The other question, very quickly for you, as we talked about, the Audi's looking forward to better times ahead. The next race, a street circuit in Trois-Rivières. Maybe not quite this tight, but still tough.
Oh, yeah, and if Randy Pobst is there, I'd keep exactly the setup he had here. You may not see anything but his rear lights.
And Trois-Rivières, always a great race. That said, though, it has been a phenomenal debut here at RFK Stadium. Thanks for joining us. For Derek Daly and Jan Bikas, we'll see you next time from Trois-Rivières. Take care, everybody.